Hey everybody, PBSE podcast hosts Mark and Steve here with a special message about our revolutionary online recovery program for addict spouses and couples called Dare to Connect. Multiple times every week, we get messages from subscribers in the program. They're people just like you. They're trying to heal from the devastation of sex and porn addiction and betrayal trauma. And here's a few of our most recent submissions. Here's one from an addict in recovery. It says, D2C has principles that everyone should utilize regardless of their circumstances. It doesn't matter your coping mechanisms. It matters that you want to work towards genuine connection with your partner.
That's awesome. Another testimony from an addict continues on. My wife is just starting out in training as a licensed therapist. Dare to Connect has been far more useful to her than her degree.
Wow.
The way Mark and Steve apply what they've learned is always so redemptive. D2C has opened doors for my relationship that I thought would be shut forever. Mark and Steve are an incredible resource of information on the subject of sex addiction and betrayal trauma. We could not do this journey without their help.
Here's one from a partner who's been with us for nearly a year. I want you both to know that it is because of you guys and D2C that I'm able to be in the place that I am today. I will always be grateful to you both for your feedback and prompt replies to my questions. I can't even come close to putting it into words how valuable my time spent with y'all this past year has been to my life. Thank you for everything you taught me about betrayal trauma and boundaries and thinking errors and loving myself and making myself a priority and standing up for myself.
Love that submission. And then as we close out here today, guys, one more account from another addict in recovery. I wish I had a platform like this 14 years ago where I could have learned and done the hard work of recovery before I had done all this damage to myself and to my spouse. And to be candid with all of you, that's exactly why we created Dare to Connect. Mark and I found ourselves in that place. Messages like these and the others like them, they're what Dare to Connect really is all about, guys, and why Mark and I do what we do. Whether you're an addict or a partner of an addict, and no matter where you find yourself in the recovery process, Dare to Connect can take you to the next level. Don't wait another day to catapult your recovery forward. Today is your day for change. Visit us at daretoconnectnow.com to pick up your free 2-week trial of Dare to Connect today. Hey everybody, I'm Steve Moore.
And I'm Mark Castleman.
We know the pain and heartbreak of porn and sex addiction.
And we know the triumph of breaking completely free.
Every day, we help our clients find hope and healing.
Join us in the fight to take back your life, your marriage, and be stronger than ever.
This is the PBSE Squared podcast.
Hey everybody, Mark and Steve on the PBSE podcast. This is episode 329. We want a family, but he just disclosed his porn addiction. Now what? Oh man, that title itself just causes me to cringe. I'm going to go ahead and read. It's a pretty short submission that this partner sent in to us.
Yeah,
I'm just going to read it. My husband and I are members of a Christian faith. We've been married for 2 years. Throughout our marriage, I have felt compared and not enough. Recently, my husband admitted to having a porn addiction, and it has completely wrecked me. Before finding out about this problem, we were considering having kids. Starting a family has always been my dream and is very important to me. But my husband is my number one priority. He started therapy this week, and I feel so lost. I want to move forward with our future, but I don't know if I can. How can I choose to have children knowing it will put more stress and pressure on my husband before he's fully recovered? Can I ever really know if he's fully recovered? Do I need to put all of our hopes and dreams on hold until I feel like I can truly trust him? Will choosing to move forward with our future with our future doom our marriage before it is even fully begun. I feel lost and I don't know what to do. I'm so insecure and I don't know if I can handle my body changing in that way, right? To get pregnant and have children. The very thought makes me sick. I just want to love him, support him, and build a family. But right now, I don't know how or if I can do both without breaking myself or our marriage. Wow. Wow, wow,
Uh,
wow, 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 wow. First of all,
mm,
what an amazing person this woman is. I mean, I am so impressed by her clarity. I'm so impressed by her just the balance with which she expresses all this. I mean, if this guy doesn't know how absolutely blessed he is to have a woman like this, he is her first priority. She's so concerned with about his well-being and his recovery, and then at the same time, she's expressing how absolutely crushing all of this is for her, and the comparison, and thinking of a body changing in pregnancy with all the ways that he's comparing her already, their whole marriage. This is really poignant. This is a yeah. This one I know it impacted you too, Steve, as we read it. It's just like, oh man.
I'll just probably for the first time on the podcast, I'm just gonna be transparent about I'm having some really serious countertransference with this one or transference. I can't remember. I can never remember which is which.
Yeah.
But basically, where what you're hearing from a client, or in this case, from a listener, hits so close to home that I just kind of have to acknowledge that because it's this. I mean this story. I mean, in timeline, minus the fact that he was deceptive about this addiction. It sounds like we're not sure, but it sounds like this story in many mirror. I mean, I we deliberately left out the specific faith tradition that this person's a member of. I am a member of the same faith tradition, just so she knows. So
Mm,
when we speak today about this, what I say comes from and it references from the same cultural idiosyncrasies, the same cultural pressures. We can really get behind um, a lot of what's not said in this submission that is
mm,
going on behind the scenes. Um, and so we really want her to know that. I want her to know that. And also, frankly, this is not just because of the same sharing of same faith tradition. My wife, my addiction reasserted itself, I guess you could say, about 2 years into our marriage, about the time where we were making similar decisions about, should we have kids or should we not? And so we'll be talking about our thoughts about that from a personal standpoint, just as much as from a, as you could say, a professional standpoint as we go through this today. And
well,
hopefully
and
this will
I
give her some help.
I can talk personal about this as well. I come from a similar faith tradition. And I will tell you that, unlike Steve, I did not disclose my addiction that I was bringing into the marriage and kept it hidden from my wife for the first 15 years of our marriage. And I just went ahead and just plowed forward with the whole having kids thing,
Mm.
because there was enormous religious and cultural pressure in the way I was raised and in the environment that we lived in back then to have kids. If you were responsible, if you were normal, if you were, living up to God's expectations, you had kids and you had them quickly, like right after you were first married.
Yeah.
And so I just went ahead and just didn't disclose anything about my addiction and drug my wife and my kids unknowingly into my mess.
Mm.
So I can
Yeah.
relate to so big time to some of these pressures that she's feeling as well.
So we really hope that this hits home for this amazing wife and for those who find themselves in similar circumstances. This is, again, we're going to give some clinical perspectives, but we're going to be speaking a lot to our own experience. This is not saying this is what everyone should do, but this is two guys. Honestly, we're probably better equipped to address this submission than most would be because you, like Mark said, he went one route and I went another route. Most of you know, I mean, my daughter is 18 months, my first daughter is 18 months old. I turned 43 recently and we put off children in no small part specifically because of this issue. It wasn't the only reason. We struggled with infertility and some other things as well, which made it financially more difficult and things like that. But initially, we put off having children because of the very thing she's considering. So, with that in mind, and just having owned that, we want to talk about some things and kind of go through here. The
Well, and
first, yeah,
I
go
want
ahead,
to,
Mark.
I want to acknowledge some of there's a lot of contradictory stuff going on here where she's trying to balance a lot of powerful emotions that would be
Sure,
difficult enough by themselves. You can
absolutely.
hear her confusion and her friction. So she loves her husband. I don't know them, but I can just imagine that she's wonderfully loyal, dedicated, all in, probably was from day one. So there's that whole pull and everything that goes with that, which is huge. But then there's fear. There's fear. Now that this disclosure, this discovery has happened, and she realizes for the first 2 years of their relationship, he's been living in a secret sexual basement, and there's been integrity abuse going on, and all of those issues. So she's like, "What is this going to mean for our future? For our not just for our marriage, but for if we have children, our future family." So there's love, there's fear, then there's this really strong desire. This has always been her dream to have a family. I mean, you take all of those things and combine them together, no wonder.
The pressure cooker
Oh
that
my
this woman is
gosh.
in right now is absolutely unreal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and there's a lot to cover. Well, and it is important. We really do honor, and like Mark said, what an amazing woman to say, I care about, him, my husband, so much, and I'm so worried about him. She sounds very similar to where Brittany was at a similar point. Brittany very much was invested and really put a sole focus almost on wanting to help me get better. And one thing that we want to acknowledge, and I wish I'd known this better when Brittany and I were going through this, I know Mark feels the same, is that as much as he is struggling, and clearly, obviously, there are lots of issues at play, many of which remain to be, sorted out. Addiction's always complicated. It is important that she not make the same mistake that Brittany and I did, that Mark and LaDawn did, that too many couples make, and fail to recognize or in any way minimize that her healing is just as important as his,
Mm.
and that they are two separate journeys. They
Yep.
are. And it is, and in the culture that she's referencing from, spiritually, religiously, and otherwise, and in other cultures as well, we talk about this on the podcast often. The cultural norm when somebody is in addiction is what? Well, let's get the addict help. He's devastated. He's whatever. And too often, the partners and the family members, like Mark indicated, the children involved, not only have they been devastated, but they're just along for the ride. They didn't, as wounded and as confused as they also find themselves. The addict, at least one can make the argument that in 99.9% of cases, he made choices, both actions and inactions, that took him to a certain point. Partners and children are victims, and to count them as anything less is to demean what they're going through.
Absolutely.
They're casualties.
And to make it worse, they don't even know for some period of time why they are victims.
Correct.
They just know something's not right. They just know that there's constant tension and turmoil and all this stuff going on, and they can't explain why.
Yeah.
And then, of course, discovery day or disclosure happens. And like, oh my gosh, that's what's been going on this whole time, right?
So it's important. I just
Yeah.
want to say it's important for her to. We applaud the fact that she is championing her husband. I'll just speak for myself. Please do not make the same mistake Brittany did and set yourself aside. And just almost to the point of ignoring. It may feel Christ-like, it may feel loving. In the long term, it will cause problems down the road. Keep your own healing in mind as you support him, please.
Yeah, and please
So,
know that his recovery does not equal your healing.
no, they're not the same at all.
Not
They're
the same at
very
all.
different tracks.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so, well, let's talk about this. We say oftentimes on the program this idea. We talk about this idea. We stole it from 12 Step. Okay? It's not Mark and I's phrase, but staying on your side of the street,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's important. But It's also important that a partner find the balance in that, because understandably, a partner is looking for signs of progress, signs of where to go forward, right? He's starting therapy this week, she says. By the way, we hope that it's with a qualified therapist in this faith tradition that she describes that I'm also a part of. I'll just be real with you. There's a real tendency to go find help that is the most economically feasible, and too often is injected with some religious shame and is not the most helpful. Okay,
Hmm.
I'm just going to be as real as I can about that. Make sure that you are finding a specialist. Okay, if he is even willing to consider therapy, which it sounds like he is, it is really critical that in this situation you quote unquote strike while the iron is hot, and that he be working with somebody who can make as much of an impact as quickly as possible, so that you guys can do, to be candid with you, what I didn't do, which is half-ass muddle through with your wife along for the ride and cause incalculable amounts of damage, and not just to one another but to the relationship, and set yourself back exponentially. Like I said, there's a reason why at 43 I have an 18-month-old daughter. I would have done some things very differently, and this would have been the starting point for me. So please, talk to family, talk to friends. If it costs more money, do what you need to do to get the right help.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Well, that's a CSAT, certified sexual addiction therapist.
It's a great starting point. Those aren't the only ones, but that's a
There's
great
others, but
starting point.
they specialize in this area for both him and for
A
her.
generalized therapist is not equipped
Mm-mm,
to tackle these topics.
they're not.
Okay.
Nope, they're just not. Now she uses a term that really jumps out at me because it causes me great concern. Right? She says, "How can I choose to have children knowing it will put more stress and pressure on my husband before he's fully recovered? And can I ever really know that he is fully recovered?"
Mm.
We need to talk about that concept of fully recovered here for a minute. I would have to say there's no such thing as perfectly fully recovered. I don't even know what that would be. The unfortunate part of this, and I know this is painful for partners to hear, and I wish it wasn't so. But Steve and I talk about the concept in this whole process of acceptance. When a betrayed partner finds out what's actually been going on in her partner's secret sexual basement and all the stuff that now comes out into the open, she didn't cause it. She doesn't deserve it. She didn't anticipate it most of the time, and she can't fix it. And so the acceptance part is I am married to an addict. I'm married to a sex/porn addict. What does that mean? And am I in the place where, as painful and as unfair and absolutely absurd as this is, what does it mean now that if I choose to, that I will be married for the rest of our lives or our relationship to a guy who has suffered from addiction? What does that mean? And can he ever get to the place where he is, quote, fully recovered? And then we'll be okay. Then we can start making really hard or long range decisions. We have to be really careful with that mindset. I understand where it's coming from and the hopes that are in it. You know, someday we can move on. Maybe we should just talk a little bit about that real quick, Steve.
Well, for both an addict and for a partner, there's probably more than one, but there is one thing that is definitely in common with both. The latest research with trauma is that we don't move past it, or we don't move on from it. We move through it.
Go through it.
Uh, it's not about getting to a pre. Those who make the journey navigating, for example, betrayal trauma like this partner have to recognize an important but very hard truth sometimes to accept, which is that there is no such thing as returning to a pre-trauma state. And oftentimes, healing gets labeled as that, which is unfortunate because it sets the stage automatically for disappointment in the process. Trauma is something we process, we move through, we grow from, we experience. The term is post-traumatic growth as a result of healing from trauma, but the relationship is going to be fundamentally shifted. And by the way, we say it even as we say that because we know that's hard to hear. That doesn't mean all for the worse. Brittany and
No.
I have grown and matured in ways that we never would have had we not gone through this process. Our relationship is developed and deepened, as has Mark's, as has countless others, like in our D2C program for addict spouses and couples. But it is a shift, and you have to recognize that this, just like any other event in a marriage, is something that has its role in shaping, and you'll be much better served by figuring out what is my new reality individually and what is our new reality going to look like, rather than, again, pulling a Steve and a Brittany and finding yourself kind of beating your head against this idea of like, well, somehow, some way we've got to get back to before this all occurred.
Hey, everybody. PBSE podcast hosts Mark and Steve here with a special message about our revolutionary online recovery program for addict spouses and couples called Dare to Connect. Multiple times every week, we get messages from subscribers in the program. They're people just like you. They're trying to heal from the devastation of sex and porn addiction and betrayal trauma. And here's a few of our most recent submissions. Here's one from an addict in recovery. It says, D2C has principles that everyone should utilize regardless of their circumstances. It doesn't matter your coping mechanisms. It matters that you want to work towards genuine connection with your partner.
That's awesome. Another testimony from an addict continues on. My wife is just starting out in training as a licensed therapist. Dare to Connect has been far more useful to her than her degree.
Wow.
The way Mark and Steve apply what they've learned is always so redemptive. D2C has opened doors for my relationship that I thought would be shut forever. Mark and Steve are an incredible resource of information on the subject of sex addiction and betrayal trauma. We could not do this journey without their help.
Here's one from a partner who's been with us for nearly a year. I want you both to know that it is because of you guys and D2C that I'm able to be in the place that I am today. I will always be grateful to you both for your feedback and prompt replies to my questions. I can't even come close to putting it into words how valuable my time spent with y'all this past year has been to my life. Thank you for everything you taught me about betrayal trauma and boundaries and thinking errors and loving myself and making myself a priority and standing up for myself.
Love that submission. And then as we close out here today, guys, one more account from another addict in recovery. I wish I had a platform like this 14 years ago where I could have learned and done the hard work of recovery before I had done all this damage to myself and to my spouse. And to be candid with all of you, that's exactly why we created Dare to Connect. Mark and I found ourselves in that place. Messages like these and the others like them, they're what Dare to Connect really is all about, guys, and why Mark and I do what we do. Whether you're an addict or a partner of an addict, and no matter where you find yourself in the recovery process, Dare to Connect can take you to the next level. Don't wait another day to catapult your recovery forward. Today is your day for change. Visit us at daretoconnectnow.com to pick up your free 2-week trial of Dare to Connect today.
No, and the unfortunate part is this is loss, right?
It is.
She lost who she thought she was married to. He lost, his higher self, his better self in the whole process of addiction. There's been a lot of loss. What the future we thought we had, the dreams that we had, now children are on hold. There's grieving in that loss, right? That we talk about the stages of grief. It's something has died here. And there's grieving, but I also love the other side of grief, which you're alluding to, Steve. Someone called it, there's the stages of grief, or you can look at them as stations of transformation. Stations of transformation. It helped to mold us, as hard and painful as it was. These were key things that caused us to grow and stretch and evolve and transform, both individually and as a coupleship. But that's all part of the reality to get your arms around, because if it's okay, when he's fully recovered, then we will, right, fill in the blank. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, right? So we have to go from this place of getting a recovery being an event. Once we're there, we go, oh, phew, okay, move on. Or perfection. It really comes down to learning how to live in new and healthy ways now. For him, it's patterns of consistent, verifiable, accountable, trackable change. It's her establishing boundaries around her wants and her needs, right? It's critically. I'm feeling passionate about this today because of some things that have happened with our addicts in recovery and Dare to Connect, right? Transparency and proactive honesty on a permanent basis starting today, right? He hid stuff from her for 2 years. Disclosure is now starting to come out. He gets to decide if he's going to be a transparent, completely proactive, honest man from this point forward. And that's how he restores trust. That's how he starts to get himself and them ready to bring children into this relationship. And I'm really passionate about that.
Yeah, there are a lot of moving pieces to this, and it is important to I mean, the big thing that I want to just add to, because Mark said it perfectly, but is I'm just going to talk to the addict here for a second, because again, this is like a very passionate situation for Steve, a little too similar to, for a little too close to home. There are very few things on this planet that I wouldn't give to go back and be in this situation again. And I don't mean the emotional difficulty of it, because God knows that part was horrible. But there is very little I wouldn't give to go back to 2 years into this marriage, into my marriage, now knowing what I know now. And if I could, I would be having a very direct conversation with myself. And I'll keep it the civil version for here. Please take this seriously. Um, you, a couple at this stage is bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and very naive. You feel like you can take on the world, and you totally can. This will rob you of everything.
Mm-hmm.
It will take everything from you, and it will shortchange your relationship in ways you can't even imagine right now. Do not do what too many of us, Mark and myself included, have done, and treat this with kitten gloves. Now is the time to tackle this thing with everything you've got. Addict partner, the guy who's not named here. It's not little. It's not a big deal. It is a huge deal.
It is a huge
And
deal.
you're dealing with a half assembled atom bomb, and your
Well,
addiction is continuing to put it together, whether you see it or not.
if I could go back to where this guy is now, and this is, oh man, and I want to be careful how I say this because I don't want it to sound hopeless. I also don't want this coupleship to think that they have to perpetually put on hold having children, for decades and decades. But I do want to say this. Please, please, please do not bring children into this marriage if you are not fully all in, committed to, and making steady progress in recovery. Do not. And my wife and I we have 6 children, and I will tell you one of the great regrets that still plays on me to this day is the damage that I caused with my older children by bringing them into my full-on addiction, my mental illness, my immaturity, all my crap. And my wife and they didn't know because I kept it hidden, but boy, did they experience the fallout. Please don't bring kids into that. Now, I'm not saying you can't get to the place to have children. Please don't misunderstand me. But you have got to realize that having children in your marriage is not a, quote, next step. It magnifies everything. You think you
Yes.
have issues now? Just bring kids into the mix and just watch everything get exponentially more complicated. So what needs to happen now is a pause, a very intentional therapeutic pause with clear boundaries, clear steps, clear goals, right? Not a forever pause, but a very intentional pause, because you are protecting your future family by strengthening this whole foundation first. And there have to be stability markers along the way before you bring kids in here. Stability markers along the way, right? This and this and this and this needs to happen along the way as we get to the place where we're now ready to bring children into this. This has got to be intentional. You got to have both eyes wide open. And so you can tell I'm passionate because I caused my older kids a lot of really unnecessary pain and suffering because they came in prematurely unknown to my wife.
Well, and I know half of Mark's kids. I've at least met several of them, and one or two I've talked to more than once. They're amazing kids, and they live awesome, amazing, productive lives. It's not that, things can't change, but it just sets things so far back behind the eight ball,
We sure went through a lot of hell to get there. Let's put
right?
it that way.
You will be much better. And I echo exactly what Mark said at first, but I already kind of came into this podcast wanting to say the same thing. Having children at my age is difficult, to say the least. I got married at 22, just like this coupleship, same story. And the energy I had back then, I could go to bed at 4 a.m., get up at 7 a.m., be fine, go to class, do blah blah. I can't do that anymore. But I think to how that has shifted things for my wife and I, even with all the work that we've done. And it does. It complicates things in ways that you can't anticipate. Don't bow into the cultural pressure you're probably feeling.
Mm.
Brittany and I felt the same thing in that same faith tradition, in that same culture. Your kids and you will be so much better served by figuring this out first. It won't take you, if you do it right, and if there aren't other factors like infertility involved, it won't take you 20 years like it did me. But take the time to really figure this out, build out the relationship. She said it very well in her submission when she said, our marriage has barely gotten off the ground. You're absolutely right. You're
Absolutely.
barely finding your footing with the two of you. And
Hmm.
now that this has happened, you've both completely lost your footing.
Yep.
So
Yep.
so that I would echo the same thing. We just have so much love and empathy for this coupleship. And as you're making that journey through recovery, there should be things that you're looking for. And a good therapist is going to be able to help you to look for this, but you will be looking for, we could call them stability markers, right? Shifts and change. I mean, I'll give you some, these are some things that Brittany and I have focused on. One is the emotional variability. One of the ways that Brittany felt more confident in having children was when I was able to not just be sober. I've been sober for 12 years almost, but it was to be able to emotionally regulate it in a healthy way, to navigate stress, shame, um, things that your husband probably hasn't even recognized are issues yet that attend to addiction. Um, getting and creating stability around that will serve you both and your children exponentially by doing that first.
Yep. I totally agree. And there's a whole side of this for her. While I absolutely applaud and stand in awe of her loyalty to her husband, which, right, loyalty is a big deal, and I don't challenge her for that. But I do want to lovingly challenge maybe a bit of a belief that could exist. And I know it does in many cultures. I have to support him no matter the cost to me. That is something that I would invite any betrayed partner to really take a close look at.
You can't do that.
I
You
want to
can't.
support him, but if it comes at the cost of my own self-abandonment, then that is not offering healthy support.
And it's not Christ-like, and it's not loving. Okay, I'm going
No,
to challenge whatever notions you may be hearing
no.
from ecclesiastical leaders or whatever. I work with those same ecclesiastical leaders. God is going to get me in trouble. They don't know what they're saying if they tell you that. Okay, you need to trust me. You need to be looking out for yourself just as much as for him. You have to love yourself on an equal terms as with him and recognize that you need help, you need support, and you as a partner deserve certain things in a relationship. Is he going to change overnight? No, of course not. Addiction is a progressive victory, even when it's done right. But you as a partner have the absolute right to expect and see consistent progressive growth and change from him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when she talks about the fears, feeling sick at the idea of becoming pregnant and her body, that's not weakness.
No,
She's
that
not,
is
she's in, that's just data, right? She is absolutely responding to real stuff here. And I would, if this isn't taken, this is why truly qualified professional help is needed. There's some discussions that need to be probably professionally guided at first, It needs to be talked about, the wreckage that he has caused, right? The internalized comparison wounds that he's heaped upon his partner by her knowing that he's been looking at thousands and thousands of airbrushed female images and of course comparing her, whether he wants to admit that or not. So there needs to be, objectification trauma that women suffer from because of this comparison trauma. The deep fear that she has about her body changing, such as through pregnancy, and what a trigger that is, right? There needs to be trauma-informed therapy and support for her in this process. And he needs to decide if he's going to open himself to face this wreckage, right? In the Minwala work, we're both certified in Dr. Minwala's work. We call it the mountain work that a man does. He's up on the top of the mountain looking down at the village that he's destroyed, the village he bombed, and all the casualties and wreckage as he looks down and faces and owns that, and now looks at the process of amends. This has all got to be looked at. This isn't just let's move on. No, there's a lot of work to be done here.
Yeah, absolutely. Transparency. I know we already mentioned this before, and you hear us talk about it on the podcast all the time, so it's not like this is new or revelatory. But a baseline requirement for this relationship, even to progress forward without significant impacts, and this is probably more so to him, but also to set the expectations for her. If you are not willing to be honest with her, you're not ready for this journey.
Mm-mm.
And you need to own that and have a serious discussion with your partner about what that means. And I know that may sound really harsh, but this is coming from experience personally and from 20 years of doing this professionally. If you can't be honest, if you can't practice honesty with yourself, if you can't practice honesty with your partner who you've already put through so much through, and this is not me coming down on you, it's just me trying to be real, you may need to look at some sort of firmer boundary in the relationship until such time as you can get to that point through therapy.
Well, can I say something about the faith tradition they talk about? That faith tradition, and this is Christian faith. I've worked with clients who have Muslim and Hindu and Buddhist backgrounds. There is a religious rigidity. There's a religious expectation that if guys allow it, will prevent them from being transparent and honest. I did it. I would rather have died than have come fully out and bring out onto the table in the big bright spotlight all of my indiscretions, all of the addiction behaviors, all of the betrayals. I always put a regulator on that because of my shame, because how I would look to my religious community, because I couldn't let my reputation be fully ruined. It was life or death to keep certain things hidden or certain things minimized or justified or rationalized. If this is going to work, all of that has to be, this guy and every guy listening has to decide if you're ready to just jettison every single speck of that. This is the time for full 100% transparency. And whatever you have to do to get there, because you rarely can get there all in one step, whatever work you've got to do to learn how to live honestly and transparently and vulnerably, please do it so that this integrity abuse can stop. I mean, it is critical, and religious cultures make that hard.
Yeah. Well, and there are, I mean, let's talk practical next steps as we wrap up here, because this is important. You know, this first one is really good and always makes me think back to following a surgery. You know, I'm a 2-time cancer survivor, so I've gotten lots of medications over the years, but only one time have I ever gotten a bottle with this specific warning label. Only once. I didn't even know they made this label. Do not make any important life decisions while taking this medication.
Oh, yeah.
I'd never actually seen that before. It was this caution, like, don't make any life changes. And that's what comes to mind with this first step. We have down in our notes here that we'd recommend waiting 6 to 12 months where we're in this relationship. There is a pause on any major life decisions. And to be honest with you, I would say that's an absolute minimum.
Well, if we were if someone were going to say 6 to 12 months, that means that this guy is in all in, both feet in, workably, actively, dedicatedly working recovery every single day. and working with a qualified therapist, and his wife is working with someone to help her in betrayal trauma healing. If all of that is happening, starting right now, every single day, maybe 12 months would be a window.
That was
Maybe.
12 months is when I wouldn't even say that. 12 months is when I would just bring the question up again. Okay, what are our
Exactly.
thoughts on kids?
I
That's
yep, that's when you
like
even start to even look at it at all.
bare minimum,
I
right?
agree. I
And
agree.
there do need to be, and again, a qualified therapist can help with this, but there does need to be a clear set of recovery benchmarks. You need to come up with those as a coupleship
Yep.
of what
All
we're
along the
expecting
way.
and
Mhm.
what's going to show up. There needs to be a support system for both of these people built out. If you think you can do this alone, you are doing it wrong. And I'm talking to the addict because we get this from guys we work with all the time, and I was the king of fighting this. I'm a therapist. I know this stuff. No, you don't. And unless this, and even if this guy's a therapist, no, he doesn't.
No,
Your best thinking got you here.
that's right.
2 years into a marriage, deceiving your wife. You don't know what the hell you're doing. That's just me talking with as much love as I can. You've got to build out a support system of people,
He's got to,
of
and she's got,
accountability.
right. It's
100%.
not, this is not just about his recovery. This is also about her healing. And
Absolutely.
both of those has got to be taking place. And that comes before you start to jump into anything, for example, with regard to coupleship therapy. Please don't jump into couples therapy thinking that's going to solve this whole thing.
No, it won't.
No.
This is a him problem, and this is a her healing journey. Him problem, her healing journey.
And that's what I see often with unqualified therapy help, where they immediately start to try to jump into coupleship counseling.
Yeah.
Disaster, right? It's yeah,
A regular check-in regimen is something we talk about that on the podcast all the time, so we won't go into that too much. And last but not least, I mean, we would heavily recommend, again, we understand, man, you're so, I remember when when Brittany and I have been married 2 years, we lived in an absolute hole. We were so dirt ass poor. It was just like ridiculous. Like it was just, we were like, I don't know. We were two steps away from being on the street, but looking back, I would have rallied family. I would have called on family and friend resources. I would have looked at religious resources financially, and I would have found a way to make a program like Dare to Connect work. At
that's
least
so
give it a
true.
try. We'd lovingly encourage you and anyone else who finds himself in a situation like this. We've said it many times. Dare to Connect is the program. That's why Mark and I made it. It's the program we needed and didn't have. It's the
Yeah.
program we wish we'd had and would have been better for. So we hope that you and others will consider that. If you like the podcast, you'll love Dare to Connect. DareToConnectNow.com. You can grab a 2-week free trial of the program there, and we hope that you will. Um,
And as we close up, let's just give some reassurance with a couple of things. You're not dooming your marriage or your future family by slowing this all down.
Not at all.
Please don't buy into
Do
that.
not buy into that cultural bullshit.
Mm-mm. Rushing forward is
True.
actually the bigger risk. It's by far the bigger risk would be to rush forward. A healthy future family is still possible. And here's Gal. I Oh, this makes me so emotional. A healthy future family is still possible, but it must be built on truth. Truth, transparency, honesty. Please don't start a family when there's still lies that exist. Or, for example, he has not learned how to live in absolute truth in his life. And her speaking her truth and having a voice and doing and holding boundaries, right? Build a future family on those things. We cannot understate that. Or
Absolutely.
yeah,
Got a lot of love for this coupleship. We wish you all the best. And hope to see you in Dare to Connect. Everybody, thank you as always for your patronage with the podcast. We love and appreciate you. You could be listening to Joe Rogan right now. Not that he's a bad one to listen to. He's a great podcaster. But we know that this is a very niche place. We know it's not comfortable. We know there's about 100 other things that a person would rather do than listen to a podcast of this nature. So we applaud you for recognizing your need to, and hope that you'll keep tuning in. Please feel free to write us in. You're always, if you're okay with the snail mail answer to questions, we are backlogged quite a bit. I think 8 or 9 weeks, but you are still welcome to always send us in submissions to the podcast, and we will tackle those as we can at daretoconnectnow.com. Just click on the PBC logo at the top, and there's a contact form there you can send those into.
yeah. Thanks for being with us once again. We love and appreciate all of you, and we'll catch you in the next episode, or hopefully some of you in Dare to Connect.
Yep. Take care, guys.
Everything expressed on the PBSC podcast are the opinions of the hosts and the participants and is for informational and educational purposes only. This podcast should not be considered mental health therapy or as a substitute thereof. It is strongly recommended that you seek out the clinical guidance of an individual qualified mental health professional. If you're experiencing thoughts of suicide, self-harm, or a desire to harm others, please dial 911 or go to your nearest emergency room.